today we are going to look at the story The Midnight Visitor, which is present in Footprints Without Feet. And let's look at this story. This is in CBSE class 10. Ausable did not fit any description of the secret agent Fowler had ever read. Following him down the musty corridor of the gloomy French hotel where Ausable had a room, Fowler felt let down. It was a small room on the 6th and top floor and scarcely a setting for a romantic adventure. Now, Ausable was a person and Fowler had never heard about him. So, Fowler felt that he does not fit to be a secret agent. So, maybe Ausable must be a secret agent. So, Fowler had come to visit him. So, he followed Ausable and they all follow the musty and you can say quite gloomy type of corridor of a French hotel, and Ausable had already taken a room there. Now when Fowler entered that room, he felt rather dejected. Why? Because according to him it was not a big room, or it was not a room up to the standard, because it was on the 6th floor and at the top floor, and scarcely a setting for a romantic adventure that anybody could go and have a romantic adventure there. Ausable was for one thing fat, very fat, and then there was his accent. Though he spoke French and German passably, he had never altogether lost the American accent he had brought to Paris from Boston 20 years ago. Now here Ausable was a fat person, as we are told here. He was very fat, and his accent was something having French and German type of accent. But he had never forgotten that American accent that he had brought from Boston to Paris 20 years ago. He knew how to speak or how to understand American accent. "You are disappointed," Ausable said wheezily over his shoulder. "You were told that I was a secret agent, a spy dealing in espionage and danger. You wish to meet me because you are a writer, young and romantic. You envisioned mysterious figures in the night, the crack of pistols, drugs, and the wine." Now Ausable says that you seem disappointed when you have seen this room. And then he gave his shoulder a shrug. And then he said that, see, you were told already that I am a secret agent and I am on a mission of, you can say, dangers. Espionage means spying, being a detective. So I deal in espionage, I deal with dangerous type of things. So you wish to meet me. And since you are a writer, a romantic type of writer, a young and romantic, but you had a vision, a mysterious type of vision that there were some figures coming out in your dream, and there were some crack of pistols, wines, and so on. Instead, you have spent a dull evening in a French music hall with a sloppy fat man who, instead of having messages slipped into his hand by dark-eyed beauties, gets only a prosaic telephone call making an appointment in his room. You have been bored. The fat man chuckled to himself as he unlocked the door of his room and stood aside to let his frustrated guest enter. Now then he continued, Ausable continued, that instead you have spent your whole evening with a fat man like me. It was a dull evening with a spending your evening in a French music hall, and instead of having messages or slipping messages to you or dancing with girls and all, I am not such type of person, so you must have been bored with me. Saying this, Ausable opened the door and stood aside so that the visitor, Mr. Fowler, could enter. "You are disillusioned," Ausable told him. "But take cheer, my young friend. Presently you will see a paper, a quite important paper, for which several men and women have risked their lives. Come to me. Some day soon that paper may well affect the course of history. In that thought is drama, is there not? Then Oswald said that you have been disillusioned. But if you come with me, then you will find an important paper which many men and women have been longing for. And they have risked their lives for that paper. So come to me someday, and that paper probably will change your idea in the course of history. In that thought is drama, is there not? As he spoke, Oswald closed the door behind him, then he switched on the light. Now while speaking all this thing, Oswald, while talking all these, closed the door and switched on the light. And as the light came on, Fowler had his first authentic thrill of the day. For halfway across the room, a small automatic pistol in his hand, stood a man. Oswald blinked a few times. Max, he wheezed. You gave me quite a start. I thought you were in Berlin. What are you doing here in my room? Now when the light was switched on, then Fowler was quite surprised. A thrill type of excitement was there, as a man was standing halfway in that room with a pistol in his hand. Now when Oswald saw him, Oswald immediately said that Max, that means that man was Max. And he said that you gave me a surprise. I thought you were in Berlin. So what are you doing in my room? Max was slender, a little less than tall, with features that suggested slightly the crafty, pointed countenance of a fox. There was about him, aside from the gun, nothing specially menacing. Now Max was very thin type of fellow, and not very tall also, and not very short. But his features, the countenance or the face features, show that he was cunning like a fox. And apart from a pistol, there was nothing else with Max that could frighten them much. The report, he murmured, the report that is being brought to you tonight concerning some new missiles, I thought I would take it from you. It will be safer in my hands than in yours. Now Max said that tonight you are going to get a report about the missiles, and I thought that I should take it from you because those reports would be safe with me rather than with you. Oswald moved to an armchair and sat down heavily. I am going to raise the devil with the management this time, and you can bet on it, he said grimly. This is the second time in a month that somebody has got into my room through that nuisance of a balcony. Fowler's eyes went to the single window of the room. It was an ordinary window against which now the night was pressing blackly. Oswald then sat on an armchair, and then he said that I'll try to raise the devil, or that means I'll try to, you can say, aggravate the anger of the management this time. Because this is the second time that somebody has entered into my room like this, and that too through that balcony. Then he looked at the window, and Fowler also followed his eyes and saw that there was a single window, an normal ordinary window through which anybody could come. And that window, through that window now night was getting dark, could be seen. Balcony? Max said with a rising inflection. No, a pass key. I did not know about the balcony. It might have saved me some trouble had I known. Max said, balcony? No, I had a pass key. With the pass key I entered. If I had known that there was a balcony, I could have entered here very easily. It's not my balcony, Oswald said with extreme irritation. It belongs to the next apartment. He glanced explanatorily at Fowler. You see, he said, this room used to be part of a large unit, and the next room through that door there used to be the living room. It had the balcony which extends under my window now. You can get onto it from the empty room 2 doors down, and somebody did last month. The management promised to block it off, but they haven't. Now Oswald said, it is not my balcony, it is actually the balcony of the next room. Then he explained Fowler that this room and the next room both were together a big unit. and there was a balcony in that big unit, and that room used to be the living room. Now this balcony extends under the window of Ozabel's room. So you can get into it, and from there you can move into my room. And somebody did this thing last month. And the when I complained the management, they promised that they would block it, but they haven't done it. Max glanced at Fowler, who was standing stiffly not far from Ozabel, and waved the gun with a commanding gesture. "Please sit down," he said. "We have a wait of half an hour, I think." Now Max, he looked at Fowler, and then with the help of gun, he ordered him or gestured him that you can sit down because we still have half an hour with us. 31 minutes, Ozabel said moodily. The appointment was for 12:30. "I wish I knew how you learned about the report, Max." Ozabel said, "No, not half an hour, 31 minutes. And he said that I wish I could know that you had known about the report. But how did you come to know about that report?" The little spy smiled evilly. "And we wish we knew how your people got the report. But no harm has been done. I will get it back tonight. What is that? Who is at the door?" Now then Ozabel smiled evilly and then said that we wish that we, being spies, could know that how the people used to know about a report. But well, no harm has been done and we'll soon get the report. Then he said that who is at the door? Fowler jumped at the sudden knocking at the door. Ozabel just smiled. "That will be the police," he said. "I thought that such an important paper as the one we are waiting for should have a little extra protection. I told them to check on me to make sure everything was all right." Now Fowler, when he heard the knock at the door, he jumped. And then Ozabel said that must be the police also, because I asked them that since the report is very sensitive, so I need an extra protection. So the police might also be there and they would check on me that whether I am safe or not. Max bit his lips nervously. The knocking was repeated. "What will you do now, Max?" Ozabel asked. If I do not answer the door, they will enter anyway. The door is unlocked, and they will not hesitate to shoot." Now when Max heard this, he was biting his lips anxiously. Then this Ozabel asked him, "What would you do now, Max?" And anyway, even if I don't open the door, they will deliberately enter some way because the door is unlocked. They will come in and shoot. Max's face was black with anger as he backed swiftly towards the window. He swung a leg over the sill. "Send them away," he warned. "I will wait on the balcony," said. "Send them away or I'll shoot and take my chances." Max's face was, you can say, roasted in black color with anger and said that, "I'm waiting in the balcony." He went to the window and he said that, "I'm waiting in the balcony. You send them as soon as possible, and otherwise I'll shoot them." The knocking at the door became louder and a voice was raised. "Mr. Ozabel, Mr. Ozabel." The knocking was quite louder. Keeping his body twisted so that his gun still covered the fat man and his guest, the man at the window grasped the frame with his free hand to support himself. Then he swung his other leg up and over the window sill. The doorknob turned. Swiftly, Max pushed his left hand to free himself from the sill and dropped to the balcony, and then as he dropped, he screamed once shrilly. Now what did Max do was he twisted his body, but his gun was still pointing towards Mr. Fowler and Ozabel, and then he moved towards the windowsill, keeping his one hand on it. Then he moved his other leg also and kept it out of that window. Then as Max then pushed his left hand, and then as he dropped that he knew, as according to the description of Ozabel, that there was a balcony below. So he dropped himself, and as he dropped, he screamed very loudly. The door opened and the waiter stood there with a tray, a bottle, and 2 glasses. "Here is the drink you ordered for when you returned," he said, and set the tray on the table, deftly uncorked the bottle, and left the room. White-faced Fowler stared after him. "But," he stammered, "the police—" "There was no police audible sight, only Henry, whom I was expecting." "But won't that man out on the balcony—" Fowler began. "No, he won't return. You see, my young friend, there is no balcony." Now, here what happened was the door opened and a waiter entered. The waiter had a tray with wine bottle and 2 glasses, and he said, "That's here's your order which you had given when you entered the room." And he set it on the table. He uncorked the bottle and then he went away. Now Fowler was terribly trembling and had a white face, and he said that, "But that man in the balcony?" Then Oswald said that there is no police, and I had ordered Henry, so I was expecting him only. And then Fowler asked that, "What about that man? Won't he return?" He said he won't return. There is no balcony below. So here ends up the story. So this means that being a spy, he had played a trick to Mr. Oswald, that by his trick only he could get rid of Mr. Max, who wanted that report, which was an important report on missiles. So he played a trick, and Mr. Max was trapped in that trick. He thought there was a balcony below, and as he dropped himself, he died. He fell on the ground and he died. So this way the story finishes, which shows that how clever and how crafty Mr. Oswald was, and how he got rid of Mr. Max so that the report could be kept with himself. So here we finish with this story. A very interesting story which was written by Robert Arthur. So hope you people have understood this story. And if you have understood, you can press the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.